Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our most recent episode of the Ramblings of a Shenaniganist. Today we have a very special work that is from a young boy named Michael. We shall not reveal his last name due to certain reasons that are certain. However, here with us tonight we have to read the famous Mr. Underpants-Pirate. So if you'll all give a round of applause for Mr. Underpants-Pirate. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mr. Underpants-Pirate, and today I'll be reading you an excerpt from a book by a man named Michael. My name is Mr. Bottomley. All of the echidnas have been inside the tropical hut. They understand why the daffodils can explode out of the air like shining marigold grenades. My umbrella is surprisingly extinct, and it shows what I saw yesterday at the markets. Sometimes I look into the peephole of 100 worlds that can shine through my feet. I used alcohol on the small rabbits, but they didn't dare step any further than where they were told to wait by the station conductor. It was a strange Sunday afternoon, and all the people were living in their box houses, expressing their opinions about the previous Friday's spatula race. I saw that they all had large pipes for smoking, and said pipes were all similar, yet none were untouched. Interestingly, I noticed that there were 17 large and 51 small kookaburra holes, each one insightful, and each one insightful. My grandmother once knew an ant that could lift the moon if only he were able to reach out and grasp all of its rainbows with just one of his eyes. The bolt that was expelled from the young man's undercoat was so great it enveloped every short novel ever written by Jonathan Pilsner, the famous Egyptian crime novelist. He was the greatest woman I had ever met, but he had the queerest tendency that was to go out every Thursday morning and feed the Mustang horses. These horses were not colourful, but purple. Prayers said by the priest of Agathon were the only ones to be repeated by any of the people of the small village of Tho. I had not yet heard about the village and why it was so amazingly blue. The sky was large and opened up like the wound on my right thigh. Sometimes I had seen it upside down, and it appeared to be so covered in froth that I was forced to cover it up with every piece of stained glass I could find. Some was coloured like the spilt blood of Afghani children, and some were so tinged that they appeared to be like explosions in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The one man I met who wasn't bolder than I was called by the name of Scartooth. I showed him how to fetch the fish that was so aquaphobic that they had small wings that allowed them to jump up out of the water and fly for hundreds of meters, above the frothing white waves that yearned to reach up and touch the moon. The animals we skinned were always prayed for prior to being sliced up and fed to the water dragons, as well as those from the Komodo family. Hai was one word that was very commonly used, as the gods were so terrified by the people that had discovered this expression that was not given down to them from their leader. The wobbling earth would sometimes tip to one side, and millions of people were cast into the fiery pits of heaven. The whiteness and redness of all the people showed them that their death was not in vain, but was to feed the great turtle that lived so far beneath the sun, the center of our great universe. Or is it only the 15 men that know what the insides of animals and the digestive tract of herbivores that show us what the wars of the future hold, and how Michael Bay will express every emotion he can discover within his imploding brain matter? Everywhere we look, we see that there is so much of our life that is made up of blue. Although the sky appears to be bright and sunny, it is blue, the colour that we all know so well to represent melancholy and sadness, whereas when the judgment day arrives, the sky will go dark red. And although this time will be a time of terror, the colour of the sky will finally represent power. Perhaps the blue and black skies of day and night are trapping us in, and only when the sky turns red on this day of days will we see that we have the power, represented by the red, to escape our simple world and explore outside of the known into the things that we so fear and yet desire to understand. I do not see why, but there is not much time in which we have to eat before we must return to class, and learn about things with such little relevance to our needed knowledge for when we leave the protective womb of school and home and burst out into the world like a butterfly from a cocoon. The soft white clouds that float above us are so beautiful, but when combined rain down upon us with the tears of 1,000,000 spoiled virgins who had been broken by the young men who only wished to be loved by a woman but were rejected by all society. And so it was decided that we would feast upon boiled goose. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I have been Mr. Underpants-Pirate. Thank you again, Mr. Underpants-Pirate. Please tune in next week on our next episode of The Ramblings of a Shenaniganist, when we will be reading an excerpt from Dan Brown's novel Angels and Demons. Thank you and good night.